First reported by our good friend J.C. Sherbert over at the Big Spur. Gamecocks wide receiver Juice Wells, after appearing in just 3 games this season with an apparent foot injury, it is expected that he will enter the transfer portal. That came out around 8:30 or so this morning. And as you can imagine, all hell has broken loose. You know, I feel like, guys, in this transfer portal and NIL era, nothing should really surprise us. Yet, with that being said, I find myself every now and then being surprised, especially when just 10 days ago, Juice Wells went on record on his social media and said this: clearing the air, I'm not playing and not holding out for the NFL draft. I'll be back next year, ... Now, to be fair, he didn't say that he'd be back for South Carolina. He just mentioned that he would be back. Now, since then, Juice Wells has turned off replies to that post. And even this morning, after the reports came out, went as far as to retweet a Diamante Tucker Dorsey, who I believe is a player, looks like a player at Texas, who posted this. I find it so funny with this narrative that now, because players get NIL, it's, quote, all about money, end quote, when they want to transfer, with a laughing emoji face. We play in college to go to the NFL to get money, with a laughing emoji face. It's always been about money, so can we please cut it out and stop pocket watching? Juice Wells reposted that this morning, about an hour or so before we went live here on the airwaves. I mean, guys, I was surprised. I'll take you back to this morning. Reached out to J.C. Sherbert, reached out to some people in the building that I stay in contact with. They confirmed all of this. I was surprised. I was taken aback by the news. And then I started thinking about the Juice Wells saga beginning back in August with his supposed foot injury. And I know that Juice Wells was injured. Heck, I defended that Juice Wells was not healthy. He shouldn't have been playing early on. And Shane Beamer, admittedly, I think somewhat strung Gamecock Nation along, saying he might play with the gamesmanship thing, right? We saw Juice Wells on the field against North Carolina, against Furman. Wasn't the Juice Wells we were so accustomed to seeing. Then the Georgia game happened. And I think at that point, Juice Wells, the hit he took, really was injured. Now, as the season progressed and folks started wondering, where is Juice Wells? Where is Juice Wells? What is the status on Juice Wells? And you just could not seem to get a straight answer from anybody, especially Shane Beamer. And that was no more apparent than at the end of the season when the media is asking Shane Beamer about, hey, coach, is Juice Wells, what's the status? Is he going to play? And you've got Shane Beamer saying things like, you know, it's really up to Juice if he plays. We got to see where he is mentally. Not physically, but mentally. And it just, you go back and you think back to the way Dowell Loggins spoke about it. You think back to the way that Shane Beamer spoke about it. 2 and 2 never really equaled 4. Like, it never made sense what was going on. And it led us to believe there was something more. Well, now we see there was something more. Now we see that there was much more to the situation. I mean, heck, guys, back on November the 17th, you know, I think we posted something about Juice Wells. I think it was, you know, Shane Beamer had said he's not playing this weekend, something like that. And I posted that graphic, And there were a lot of comments on that graphic about Juice Wells. He's sitting out. He's preparing for the NFL, whatever. Juice Wells' father commented on our post, and I highlighted those comments, screenshotted them, and posted them back on November the 17th. This is 3 days before Juice Wells announced, hey, I'm not holding out. I'm going to play next year. Granted, again, he did not say South Carolina, but made that post where everyone thought he's coming back. Juice Wells' father said this on November 17th, replied to a comment and said, if you know anything about my son, he's a warrior, wants to be on the field more than anything. Why don't you do yourself a favor and stay off of his Instagram? He was out there working out, working hard, and when you work hard, you play hard. You probably don't know nothing about that. Just stick to being a fan because you're not an athlete. And you don't know what's best for the Juice. I want you to keep the same energy when he kills the SEC next year. Again, no mention of South Carolina, just when he kills the SEC next year. Then another comment to the same guy, Juice Wells' father, yet again. He was trying to come back every week. He is not the one talking to fans. He is the one trying to get stronger and better every week. If it was up to him, he would have been playing every week. His injury wouldn't allow it. He has no obligation to talk to the fans. His only obligation is to get well and play football. He's not listening to the fans. He is listening to the doctors. So everybody in that moment thought, hey, Juice isn't holding out. It really is. He's just hurt. It's okay. He's going to come back, or he's got a decision to make. Hopefully he comes back. Then Juice Wells posts. And here we are now today on this Thursday, November the 30th. And we learn that Juice Wells is expected to, and all but confirmed, is entering the portal. I mean, guys, I don't even – it's been a couple hours since it took place, and I'm still looking for the words, and I just – we always say the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. And this is just a brutal reminder of what college football is now. Guys, from the national college football standpoint, the SEC standpoint, the talking heads, the content folks, college football has never been better, right? Because there's always something to talk about. Like this transfer portal stuff, guys, it's the diehard fan. It's the diehard fan that is being asked to and is contributing their hard-earned money into NIL channels, hoping to keep their favorite players around. The content folks, the national college football folks, the business of college football has never been better because there's constant headlines. It's free agency. There's money moving all over the place. There's talking points. There's subject matter. Like, we used to not have this, right? By now, we were on to college basketball, and you might get some recruiting stories here and there. There might have been a change at head coach. There might have been a change at a coordinator. Outside of that, the month of December, January was pretty dead leading up to National Signing Day. Now it is pure chaos. Now it is pure madness. And I really feel bad for a couple parties in this instance. Number one, I feel bad for the fan. I feel bad for the diehard fan. And listen, I'm all in favor of players getting the bag, getting their bag, being compensated off name, image, and likeness. And I feel like we had a very similar conversation last year when Jaheim Bell hit the portal. And guys, I did not think a player could be more universally disliked by Gamecock Nation than Jaheim Bell was after the stunt he pulled with the selling the t-shirts and then 7 hours later hitting the portal. I think it's fair to say that Juice Wells has now taken that mantle. Juice Wells has taken over as number one on Gamecock fans' shit list. I mean, there's just no other way to put it, man. Juice decided to return for another year with Spencer Rattler, and everyone in South Carolina circles, collectives were saying, we got to keep giving, guys. We got to keep giving to maintain the roster. We need you to give. The only way we're going to compete is if you continue to give. Common fans, not just the millionaire boosters, common fans. Fans that could take the money they're donating and probably go on a nice vacation, take their family out somewhere, hey, you know what? I want to give back to my school, give back to my university. And again, guys, as we know, this isn't just a South Carolina problem, it's happening all over the place. But the common fan, the diehard fan, the fan is being asked to give with no promise of anything in return. Think about it, guys. Would you ever buy a house without seeing it or even knowing it exists? Would you ever buy a car without seeing it or knowing it exists? Would you ever invest in anything in that manner? Would you ever purchase something without some sort of bill of sale, some sort of written agreement that, okay, like I know like the stock market and sports gambling, but those things are a gamble. It's not supposed to be this much of a gamble that the money you're giving is going to be used to the point where your favorite players are going to stick around. I mean, it's just, there's no contracts, there's nothing in writing. Juice Wells just pockets the money. And what is he obligated to? What's his end of the deal? What's his end of the bargain? There's nothing. So I feel bad for the common fan. I really do, man. I feel bad for the fan that is investing hard-earned money. And I don't care if you make six figures a year, you're making 40K a year, you're a millionaire. Getting zero on ROI is zero on ROI. Everybody's getting stiffed. And you know what they're going to tell you guys? And listen, I want to make this very clear. I'm not, we bring JC Sherwood on the show weekly. I'm not pitching against the collectives of any SEC school or in college football in general. Everybody's got a job to do. The collectives are in place to be the middleman between the fan and the players and make the fans feel like and give them a channel to support. Because it's all about NIL and the portal now. But man, folks investing their hard-earned money in that with zero promise of any sort of ROI. I mean, this is a black eye on NIL, man. Like things like this, when they happen, I feel for the folks at the collectives as well. Because you know what they're going to tell you guys? Hey, guys, the only way we can stop this from happening in the future, the only way is we got to give more. Give more. With still no promise of return on investment. I mean, I also feel bad for folks like JC Sherbert, who have to go on his show this morning and talk to the fan base with a straight face and talk to the fan base about the blunders of NIL. And again, this is not just a Gamecock thing. Let me clarify that. But he's got to go on record and say, guys, you know what? We're making strides. We just lost one of our best players, if not our best player when healthy, for next season. But we need you to give more. That's the only solution. Give endlessly, or maybe give hopelessly. It just feels like a losing proposition. And again, I'm not pitching against NIL, guys. I'm not pitching against the Garnet Trust, Carolina Rise, whatever collective it is. You're another SEC fan of another SEC school. I'm not pitching against the collectives as a whole. But man, when something like this happens, you feel like it undoes a lot of the goodwill or a lot of the progress that collective has made. Because the common fan is waking up this morning like, so you're telling me I invested my hard-earned money into this collective to retain a guy like Juice Wells. And this man appeared in 3 games, didn't make any sort of impact on the 2023 season. Pulled a fast one on me. Told me he was coming back, or at least made it seem that way. And now he's gone. Just like that. Man, you're going to have a hard time convincing folks that investing in that manner is a good investment. You're just going to have a really hard time. And this might hurt the feelings of some folks out there that are, he's speaking against NIL. I'm not speaking against anything, but I am giving you the reality. I'm giving you the reality that it is a losing proposition in this day and age and in this economy. It's a losing proposition to invest your money into what? Into what? There's no contracts. There's no bill of sale. There's no written agreement. I mean, in the business world, guys, only a fool would do such a thing. Only a fool. Nobody in business operates that way. And if you do, you're not going to be in business very long. You better have something in writing to protect your ass. That's all I'm saying. Either way, from the football side, guys, I mean, I don't have to explain to you all why it is so demoralizing and so, I mean, after a 5-7 season, Shane Beamer has to have a positive 2024. He has to have a turnaround year. He has to, at minimum, make a bowl game. You think to yourself, you're getting Juice Wells back. You got a young quarterback in Lenore Sellers, but he's going to have a great option on the outside to go along with Nick Harbor, and now all that is gone. And we saw it last year with, again, Marshawn Lloyd, Jaheim Bell, Jordan Birch, Gilbert Edmond, and we wrote that off as, okay, those are must-champ guys, is what it is. This is the first big domino that has fallen. That is a Beamer guy. And I know that a lot of it's out of his control, but if it's another brutal portal cycle in which South Carolina is gutted, because this very well may not be the last. I would venture to say it's not the last. If South Carolina is gutted yet again, and then you have a losing season next year, where do you go? And guys, on that note, like, I hate to say this, like, what's the hope for a school like South Carolina, like Kentucky, like Mississippi State, like Arkansas? What chance do you have when you know you don't have? I'm not saying the NIL situation at South Carolina is the worst in the SEC, but you know it's not the best. And it's just moments like this where you're like, what hope does South Carolina have to compete? Because every time they get a good player, who knows if he's going to stick around? You've become the farm system to Florida State. You become the farm system to these bigger schools, and the rich get richer. My heart hurts for the diehard fan today. My heart hurts because this is not the college football that you and I grew up knowing and loving and investing ourselves in. It's not. And I said this last year around this time when the Jaheim Bell stuff was happening. I'll say it yet again, guys. Moments like these are a great reminder of the harsh reality that fans have to accept. That your favorite players, outside of maybe a few, give credit to Luke Doty. Give credit to Kerryon Joyner. Give credit to these guys who stuck it out and loved being a Gamecock and said, you know what? I bleed the garnet and black. Cheers to them, man. Tip of the cap. But the harsh reality that outside of a unique circumstance, the harsh reality that fans of all schools have to embrace, your favorite players, and most times your best players, your favorite players don't love your school the way you do. They don't take pride in being a Gamecock like you do. They don't care about South Carolina like you do, especially the guys you pick up out of the portal. Because the same way you got them is the same way you'll lose them, folks. If they left for the bag once, they'll leave for the bag again. It's a very transactional relationship. And not just at South Carolina, but all across the country. That is the harsh reality of college football.